important leader from Sri Lanka, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has had strong ties, bilateral ties, trade and energy infrastructure related relationship that had been forged together with the former president of Sri Lanka, Ranil Wickremesinghe. Ranil Wickremesinghe, thank you so much for joining me right now. And of course, my first question about India and Sri Lanka ties. What do you expect from this very important visit that is going to be made by the Prime Minister later today?
I would expect that we take the next step in ensuring a closer relationship between the two countries. The vision statement of 2023, which was made during my visit to India, contains the measures we had looked at: connectivity in many forms, the development of dairy sector, many other items have been identified, the development of Trincomalee. Then when President Dissanayaka went to India in the joint statement, they again referred to the need to move forward. Now there should be more, I presume there will be some concrete steps. So we move out of the statement stage where we declare our intentions into taking the next steps necessary for making it operational. That is important, because I have always said there must be closer India-Sri Lanka relations. We must have connectivity, and we must also have economic agreements which will ensure that there is very close economic cooperation between the two countries.
How hopeful are you that the projects that India and Sri Lanka signs in the future expectedly? Now, like you already mentioned, there is the Sampur project that had been, I think for the last 20 years, 2006 is when it was launched. Then from the coal project, it ended up becoming into an LNG project, and now finally converted into a solar power plant. Why such a long lingering wait for it to be finally launched by the Prime Minister?
Unfortunately, many things in Sri Lanka take a long time, sometimes also on the Indian side. But Prime Minister Modi has always been very keen in pushing it. What happened was that we had originally planned for the coal power station, but once we signed the Paris Climate Agreement, then we couldn't go ahead with the coal power stations we had. We had one with India and another with Japan. Then we offered them the LNG plants, but at that time, subsequently, it came up with the fact that LNG plants were certainly more viable in Colombo. So we gave them the Kerala Pitya for the LNG plant. And the Indian government said they'd like to have solar energy there, because the idea was to make Trincomalee both a logistic hub and an energy hub.
How important has India's role been as a neighbor to ensure that Sri Lanka has been brought back from the economic turmoil that it was facing 2 years ago?
Well, one was the $4.5 billion loan that was given to us through our different credit lines. I know how helpful it was for us to tide over the first 6 months, especially after I became president. So that's one. And secondly, the Indian willingness to go ahead with the connectivity projects, and also the Indian investments that have come here. Over billions of dollars they're willing to invest. At this stage, most investors are holding back because we still haven't got the full capacity to pay back, and we only declared that we had overcome the bankruptcy only recently. So people are waiting. They would have waited at least another year or so before coming into invest, maybe 2 years. But if we go ahead with the Indian investments, we have money coming in, a few billion, and when India invests, others will also want to come and invest here without waiting for 2027, 2028 to see how the economy is performing.
I also want to raise a question when you're talking about attracting Indian investment and bringing Indian FDI. One deal that raises eyebrows is about the now scrapped deal of the Adani wind power plant. It was a deal that you had facilitated. What went wrong, and how should, according to you, the current government move forward with it?
There seems to be a dispute about price because we called for a large number of projects. Of course, each one had a different price. Some of them, the infrastructure was available, the studies were available. In the case of most of it was not complete, was not available. So they have to bear the cost. In this instance, the investor didn't have to bear the cost. In a smaller one, it's easier to raise money. In a larger projects which have 500, which requires about 500 US million, now this was about 800. It's more difficult because the cost of finance goes up. Then there are other projects also. So each one, there was a different price to be paid when you purchase the power. It is this differential that seems to be causing a problem. But when you work out the two, you see the differential. There were project committees appointed by the Treasury and Cabinet appointed negotiation committees which went through it, and all the details are there. I consider it to be a very, very important one, and Adani's investment would have also encouraged others to come here.
There is a mega infrastructure project that is coming up, which is the Colombo Port City. There has been billions that have been invested by the Chinese companies. What is the concept of Colombo Port City? How do you think is it going to help Sri Lanka?
When I was Prime Minister from 2001 to 2004, we asked the Singaporean company Subana Jurong to do a plan for Colombo City. They pointed out that fort area was full and it consists of heritage buildings which could not be demolished. So they suggested that 300 to 400 acres be filled near the harbour where the present port city is, and that be used as a commercial area. Of course, we went out of office, and subsequently government agreed with China Harbour, it's investment, not a loan, to allow them to develop. It went up to 600 acres, and it was to be an area where the land was to be sold in foreign exchange for foreigners. So that's how this came about. It's basically a real estate project, and the laws are enforced by the government of Sri Lanka. So for all purposes, it's a part of the Colombo city. It's like someone has got 600 acres to develop, which is a prime land, because generally if you get 5 acres to develop in Colombo, 2 acres is big. So they've created that land.
But there are also concerns being raised talking about how it could turn into a tax haven. There could be illegal activities taking place. Also, do you think at a crisis such as this, where Sri Lanka is recovering still, while the masses are suffering, do the elite need to be given special treatment and discounts and subsidies?
Well, Sri Lankan businesses always ask for tax concessions and relief, but in this instance, the tax concessions we connected to foreign investors, not to local. You have to invest in dollars. So that was the condition that was put in and discussed. We still have to work out what is the length of the period and what type of tax concessions are given. But tax concessions here are only in respect of foreign investments.
I'm also going to draw parallels from the Hambantota port, where Sri Lanka is still struggling to pay back the humongous loan to the Chinese government, to the Chinese companies. How is the Colombo port city different from the Hambantota port?
Hambantota port was given out on a lease of about 70 odd years for $1 billion. So we got the money back. But when the money came, the treasury said, we want to put it into the reserve. Because as far as the Hambantota harbour is concerned, the Chinese loan is on a concessional basis. So if we, for instance, pay off this loan, government would have to take some commercial loans, other loans on a commercial basis, and we had an advantage in that we were paying less. We could have never got that for any loans that the government could have taken. Therefore, the $1 billion went into the government coffers, reserves, and we decided that we'll keep paying the Chinese government off. Because again, we were gaining the benefit of about a few percentages in interest.
Okay, but there obviously are, concerns and reports that the rate of interest that has been levied by the Chinese is much higher than the rates that you actually see on offer in other investment projects by other countries.
It's up for them because they have to recover the investment, and what they charge is their, but we won't allow them to charge less than Colombo.
Okay, all right. I'm going to go back to the time when you were the president, elected 2022, continued until 2024. You are the man who touted to be the face of Sri Lanka, bringing back Sri Lanka from the brink of economic turmoil when you were able to negotiate the debt restructuring with the International Monetary Fund. How is it that right after that, when elections took place, people did not repose faith in the party and you?
Generally, in most countries, once you do reforms, people are already affected, and the reforms can affect the people. So it's a toss-up whether they are going to be elected or not. I mean, Mr. Narasimha Rao had the same issue, many leaders had. I knew it was going to be a toss-up, but I thought I'll take the challenge and stabilize the country, the economy. We were not on a free fall anymore. The next stage is recovery. So how the recovery is going to take place was what was there. And I did not go to promise any tax relief or any pay increases. People were suffering. There were promises of tax relief, pay increases. So that worked to the advantage of those parties. But I wanted to tell them what the situation is and what it will be in the coming years.
And, I want to understand from you because, the popular sentiment on the street seems to be that people have wanted to vote for a person and vote for a political party that is outside of, this coterie of political legacies and political dynasties that Sri Lanka has been used to over the last 74 years. What do you have to say to it?
Well, the dynasties were broken by us in 1988 when we nominated Mr. Premadasa as the president. He didn't have any dynasty. Long after he died in my time that I made Sajid the deputy leader. That was the first time. Then our next president was Mr. Wijetunga. He was from Kandy, the first Kandian, but he had no dynasty. He came in. Then in 2015 we backed Mr. Maitripala Sirisena. He also had no dynasty. And that's all. Even I have done a long time in politics. I didn't come because of anything else. So we have had people who are outside dynasties. We had... Even in 31 when we started, it was D.B. Jayatilaka. So our politics has been really free of it. People like to claim, each one likes to claim there were no dynasties. They are the first one free of dynasties, but there has been. And Mr. Premadasa's elevation to presidency is remarkable. We have been changing the system and opening it out. Otherwise this won't happen.
So do you think there's something remarkable that has happened in the elections that took place?
It is good that even people have tried out new parties. Look at UK now, they want to try out Nigel Farage. If you look at it, his party is leading. Same thing has happened was going to happen in France. It didn't take place, and I think Mrs. Le Pen has now a court case. But everywhere you see them trying new faces. Who is Trump? He was the Democrat who came on the Republican Party and won against all the regulars. So it's a fashion, you see. Even President Obama was outsider. So people are now trying to look at new faces. If their work is good, otherwise they go back to the old faces.
And also the universal trend, we take a look at, if you may call quote unquote far right parties that are gaining prominence versus what has happened in Sri Lanka with the man who has ideals which are linked to left ideologies decided to cut off taxes. He's giving relief to people. How do you have to say to what do you have to say to that? How does this actually impact the economy, which is obviously wants some sort of support to bring it back to the position that it was a few years ago?
Economy can come back to its position, but you can't give relief at the moment. What is the relief? With all that, the cost of goods are higher, prices are higher. You can't get some of the essentials. It's all the public servants didn't get the pay increase which was promised by us, much less. People, there are not enough money circulating at the moment.
Okay.
Others talk.
So what is, when you pull out a report for the current government, it's not been too long for President Dissanayaka to have been in power. What is your verdict?
In 6 months, I even got a EFF with the IMF. We did away with the petrol queues, we did away with the food queues, everything. First 6 months is when you should move. What is called the 100 days? Here in Sri Lanka, you have what's called the 100 days. So your performance is judged by the first 100 days. There's been no movement.
But what they have been doing in the last 100 days is making these inquiries and forming these commissions with regards to the alleged involvement of your political party in the Easter Sunday attacks, talking about the central bank bond scam, talking about the Batalanda torture camp. How do you react to all these allegations?
No, on Batalanda commission report, what did they say? No, tell me what they said. Because you picked it up. No, you have picked it up from someone and you're asking me. It said that in transferring some of the houses of the corporation to the police, I should have gone through the IGP and not given it direct to the Superintendent of Police, Kalaniya. It said the JVP was responsible for the uprising and it gave the number of people who were killed from different parties and others. And so you can, I have no problem anyone debating what the JVP did. Then, what is the second one?
Talking about the central bank bond scam.
Yeah, so they
also about the prosecution of the Rajapaksas right after Gotabaya Rajapaksa fled.
No, one by one. What did the bond scam say?
Yes, obviously the fact that there was some sort of a settlement that had been had between your political party.
There was no settlement under that. Firstly, it said that I had nothing to do with it. Secondly, they said if some parties should be prosecuted. They were prosecuted. But the case of the prosecution, AGs were thrown aside. Then you went to the Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal also threw it aside. Now there has been an appeal to the Supreme Court against the decision of the Court of Appeal. So when people tell you this, you must ask what the details are. If without asking that,
so then
if you want to ask me about the other one on the Easter Sunday or not?
Easter Sunday are these big allegations that are being made by certain individuals. Do you think this is political vendetta?
Who made the allegation?
There is an organization which is part of the church, and they came out and made a statement.
Can I tell you? There is a commission. The commission said it was done by these people. Second, there was a, as far as we are concerned, there was the second one to look at the Channel 4 investigation. They said it was done by these people. What is the religious organization? What is that's making the comment?
Yeah, there is one particular church and members of that church. I look into it. I saw.
So
a report.
what is the church?
I look into it. I'll see the report.
Yeah, but this is a Buddhist country.
Yes.
I am not answerable to any cardinal or bishops. I do what is said, and we all accept the fact. This is how the Easter Sunday bomb was done. Then I know the Baptist church, not Baptist, the born again church. They have not made any allegation. If people want to do politics, that is not my this.
So you think
a church that is known.
This is a political witch hunt
the
that
church
is taking place against you?
No, it's not against me. They are asking the government. We supported you at the elections. Now prove that there was some Muslims involved in the explosion. That's all. I am not willing to do that. I go by reports. I am the one who took over. I was there as Prime Minister. And I brought the situation under control that day. There are no allegations against me. They are just shouting on a report. And people no longer accept that shouting.
Oh, yeah.
Look, the country, majority is Buddhist. You go and ask the Mahanayakas, there is no this thing. Your country doesn't run on a minority issue. I mean, your Prime Minister quite rightly says, we have to consult the Hindu priest. Why are you asking me now to go and talk with a minority, which is discredited?
Okay. I'm not asking you. I'm just kind of looking to clarify in terms of your statement. Not at all.
You have not even read the report. But remember, as far as religion is concerned, where the religion lies and to whom we answer. I do not answer to those people. Okay. I will not answer them.
Okay, all right. Fair enough. I'm going to bring back the issue of the Tamils. Who live in Sri Lanka, in the northern part of the country. There are fresh promises being made by the current dispensation as well for reconciliation. They are looking to have elections in their part of the country. How do you think this move should be taken forward to its logical conclusion?
When I was there, we took it forward. If they continue, I think they'll have the support of everyone. I mean, they certainly will have the support. At the moment, there are elections on local authority. They are also contesting. And some of the NPP members are returned. It's good having some new faces also from the north there. And now the other parties, TNA is trying to regain the lost grounds. So that's normal politics. For elections are on.
Okay. There's another issue that was raised in the Indian Parliament just a few days ago, where the Indian Foreign Minister also spoke about the fishermen who are apprehended by the Sri Lankan authorities. This was also a concern that the Foreign Secretary said would be raised when the Prime Minister is going to arrive over here and who will hold talks with President Dissanayake. Is there a reasonable solution that we can find? Because this has been carrying on for decades.
If a person jumps into your house and tries to take some objective, should the police detain them or let them go? You handshake and let them go. If you answer that to me, I will give the reply.
But then again, there is history to it. There was the accord that was signed under the regime of Indira Gandhi, and of course, issues, all of those issues. So that's what I'm saying. Can there be some sort of a reconciliation between both the countries?
No, there is a reconciliation. We get on. I am saying even have connectivity, land connectivity. Reconciliation is there.
Okay.
This is the problem of your fishermen from Tamil Nadu coming into this area. And this is the main ground for our Tamil fishermen. So, I mean, basically you are thinking on rights of Tamils, then for God's sake, protect the right of the Sri Lankan Tamils to fish in their own waters.
How do you hope the current government is going to...
You can't forget about their rights and say we want their rights. You're asking me about the rights of the Tamils. But if you're not going to respect their right to fish in that water, how can you ask me about the right of Sri Lankan Tamils?
Okay. All right. Another question, talking about India and Sri Lanka and forging stronger ties. There was also one more initiative that you had started off. It went on a good note. It was the ECTA, the Economic Comprehensive Agreement. Do you see this coming to a culmination?
We have to complete it very quickly. Looking at what Trump is doing, President Trump, we have to rebuild a new trading regime, us, India and all. So I'm saying that we should push ahead and finish it in the next few months. Then we must we also have an agreement with Thailand. We have to implement that, and we should look at the RCEP going. We have to look at new areas, but key is India. You have to sign with India.
Okay, all right. Again, as a veteran, as a politician who has been a prime minister of the country 6 times, you have ruled the country and governed the country as president as well, have been in various positions in the ministries in the past in several governments. What are your hopes and dreams for the country in the future as a Sri Lankan?
We like to see a developed country, people living well, law and order maintained, and a democratic country.
On that note, thank you very much, President Ranil Wickremesinghe, for joining me and speaking to us.
Thank you. Thank you.